to Tennessee's at-home learning series for literacy. Today's lesson is for all our third graders out there, though everyone is welcome to tune in. This lesson is the fourth in this week's series. My name is Miss Copeland, and I'm a third grade teacher at Venus Stewart Elementary in Gallatin, Tennessee. I'm so excited to be your teacher for this lesson. Welcome to my virtual classroom. Each day I am writing a note to one of my students that I am missing in my class. Today's letter is for Miss Camilla. Camilla, I am missing seeing you every day in our class. I'm missing your bright smile and listening to all of your awesome ideas. You have always kept us smiling with your sense of humor, from Miss Copeland. If you didn't see our previous lesson, you can find it on www.tn.gov/education. You can still tune into today's lesson if you haven't seen the others. It might be more fun if you go back and watch our other lessons, since today we'll be talking about topics we learned previously. Today we will continue learning about how Dr. Ray Seddon lifted off to realize her dreams. We will add to the main idea events we read about yesterday and to the key details chart from our previous lesson. Before we get started, to participate fully in our lesson, you will need 2 sheets of paper, a pencil, and a surface to write on, and if possible, the student packet for ELA Grade 3, Lesson 9, which can also be found on the tn.gov website. I'm excited to continue with our text about Dr. Ray Seddon and how she stepped up to the challenges of her dreams. Before we move forward, let's take a moment to remember what we learned and review the independent practice summary you were asked to complete at the end of the last lesson. Here are a few items that are worthy of touching on. Remember, a memoir is a narrative written in first person. Dr. Seddon had a dream to be a doctor on the space shuttle for NASA. A shuttle is a piece of equipment used in space travel. In 1978, she was offered a job as an astronaut for NASA. First, she had to go to training school to prepare to be an astronaut and to take a voyage into space. Dr. Seddon responded to the challenges by engaging in training without complaint and celebrated her colleagues for their accomplishments. A voyage is a long trip, and the trip from Earth to space is a long one. Thank you for completing this summary of the main events and including how our Tennessee astronaut, Dr. Seddon, responded to those events. You may have used our chart to write a summary that is similar to this one. Dr. Seddon had a dream to be a doctor on the space shuttle for NASA. She got her medical degree when she was 30 years old. She was preparing for her dream to be a doctor on the space shuttle. Then, in 1978, she was offered a job as an astronaut for NASA. First, she had to go to training school to prepare to be an astronaut and to take a voyage into space. Dr. Seddon responded to the challenges by engaging in training without complaint and celebrated her colleagues for their accomplishments. Good writers include key details and main events to summarize their learning. Also, placing those events in chronological order supports the reader along with the use of time order words. Today, our goal is to add to our key details chart and understand how Dr. Seddon responds to the main events. We will begin with me reading our text and asking you to participate with me. Then there will be time for you to practice on your own with my support. Finally, I will assign you independent work that you can complete after the video ends. Back to our story. As I read, listen for the words mission control and boosters. After I read, I'll come back and ask you to tell me what they mean and ask how you figured out the definition. Part 2 of our story is called Liftoff. My wait ended at last on April 12, 1985. I boarded the shuttle Discovery on a cloudy morning with 6 crewmates. None of us had packed much for our trip. NASA gave us our clothes and food. If you ever go to a shuttle liftoff, I hope you remember your earplugs. The roar of the engines and rockets can be heard from miles away. To protect their ears, astronauts wear helmets. The helmets also have headsets, which are used to keep in touch with Mission Control in Houston. Mission Control plays a major role during every space flight by tracking the shuttle as it moves. Reaching space takes only about 8.5 minutes. When the shuttle's 2 boosters fire and the 3 main engines light up, it is one amazing ride. After 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the Discovery's boosters popped off with a bang. During that time, I listened closely to Mission Control. This first picture on page 10 the caption says blast off. The second picture's caption says we were allowed to bring only 2 of our own things on the space flight. I brought along a photo of my family and a Tennessee bumper sticker to remind me of home. Now let me focus on Mission Control. I will read that again. Be a detective and be ready to tell me what Mission Control is. The helmets also have headsets which are used to keep in touch with Mission Control in Houston. Mission Control plays a major role during every spaceflight by tracking the shuttle as it moves. From that last paragraph, I add to my understanding from this sentence. During that time, I listened closely to Mission Control. Using text evidence and clues, what is Mission Control? Write the definition of Mission Control on your paper. Now you really are detectives. Dr. Seddon didn't give us the exact definition, but she gave us clues. Excellent sleuth work. That means you are a detective. Mission Control is a group of people that work for NASA. Their job is to communicate instructions to the astronauts and track all the machines and computers of the shuttle while they are on a mission. The text said, Mission Control plays a major role during a spaceflight and tracks its movement. Another clue tells me Mission Control people talk to the astronauts from far away. In this sentence, the helmets also have headsets which are used to keep in touch with Mission Control in Houston. Keep in touch means to talk with or communicate with. That's one way I can create meaning of words that I don't know, and the author doesn't tell me exactly what it is. Remember talking about the shuttle in the last lesson? What is a shuttle? You could use your notes from the lesson before this one if you would like. You remember well. Excellent. I heard you say a shuttle is a machine used in space travel. When we learn new words, we remember them by continuing to read, think about, talk about, and write with those words. There was another word we need to examine a little further. Understanding what a booster is and its purpose will help you comprehend the text. Look again and listen to figure out what a booster is. Reaching space only takes about 8.5 minutes. When the shuttle's 2 boosters fire and the 3 main engines light up, it is one amazing ride. After 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the Discovery's boosters popped off with a bang. Think with me. What is a booster and how do you know? Write the definition on your paper as a note to yourself. Good readers annotate or make notes to themselves as they read. Aren't you smart? Good answer. A booster is a part of the rocket that provides force for launch on the first part of the journey. I bet you used clues about how fast the shuttle flew into space. The author said the boosters fired, meaning ignited, and told us the engines lit up after the boosters lit. Those must be very powerful pieces of equipment to send the shuttle soaring into space. Now we know what a booster is. Let's have you act like a booster in your home. Be careful not to hit anyone or anything. How fun to turn your body into a booster. Are you a powerful booster like the booster that helped the space shuttle? I wish I could see you act like rocket boosters. I know you are powerful. Now, Dr. Seddon is about to go into space. I wonder how Dr. Seddon reacted and felt as she finally headed into outer space after years of training. Listen for clues that tell us about her feelings as I read. I had faith that the engines would hold together and work correctly. My biggest fear was failing in my work and letting NASA down. 6 minutes later, at 200 miles above Earth and going 17,500 miles per hour, the engines cut off. Our crew waited excitedly to feel weightlessness and hear our commander say, "Welcome to space." Let's think together. What did Dr. Seddon tell you to let you know how she felt and responded to her first flight in space? Don't forget to use text evidence. She was excited, right? You did it again. When the young woman astronaut said, "I had faith that the engines would hold together and work correctly," it told you she was confident in herself and all the people from NASA that helped send her to space. Dr. Seddon also said she was most fearful of letting NASA down. This told me she wanted to do her very best and do a good job for all her teammates. I heard you say that the crew was excited to feel weightlessness. That's what happens in space when you leave gravity. You float. This tells me the Tennessee astronaut was brave to fly into space, trust the equipment, and perform a job performed by very few women. Stop and take a moment to write some of Dr. Seddon's character traits in your notes. The story will tell us about astronauts working on satellites. Listen to understand what satellites are as I read. Let's read on to see what happens. Part 3 is called The Mission. Our main job on this mission would be to launch 2 satellites. Satellites are machines that share information over thousands, even millions of miles. They allow people on Earth to have television, radio, and the internet. Like most machines, satellites have on and off switches. Our 2 satellites were supposed to flip on once we released them into space. Nothing to it, right? Not exactly. When you're many miles above Earth, nothing is as simple as it might seem. One satellite worked. Unfortunately, the other one wouldn't turn on. We couldn't leave the broken satellite without trying to fix it. Now is the time to think like a doctor and put my surgery skills to use. Think, can you imagine seeing a satellite out of the window like Dr. Seddon did on her spaceflight? Add the definition of a satellite to your notes. I think I heard you make a connection between a satellite and the shuttle. Correct. A satellite is a machine that is released into outer space. Its job is to allow people on Earth to have technology like television, radio, and the internet. While both satellites and the shuttle are machines used by astronauts, a shuttle gets astronauts from Earth to space and back, but the satellite stays in space to help our technology on Earth. As we read part 3, the mission, Dr. Seddon first told us her main job for the mission. Next, she told us the problem with the mission. What was the problem on the mission? How did she react to that problem? I noticed another reference to our astronaut's career as a doctor. Once again, excellent answers. Yes, the problem was that one of the 2 satellites wouldn't turn on. Their mission was to launch the satellite so they could work. When one wouldn't turn on, Dr. Seddon didn't give up. Instead, she chose to think like a doctor, her former career, and treat the satellite like one of her surgery patients. Thank you for making that connection back to our previous lesson, where this brave astronaut referred to the shuttle as her patient. I heard you say Dr. Seddon and her crewmates refused to give up. Way to persevere, crew. Our astronaut, the biographer in our memoir, told us a major problem on her first mission. Now, as I continue to read, I know the author will very likely tell me the solution. After reading, I'll ask you to summarize how the crew solved this crisis or urgent problem. Also, notice what the doctor used to solve the problem. To move the on switch on the side of the satellite, we would need a hand. This wouldn't be a human hand, but a set of tools. First, these tools would be attached to a long robotic arm. I could control the arm from inside the shuttle and use the hand to knock the switch into an on position. In the 1980s, Mission Control was not yet able to send videos and pictures to astronauts. They could only send words through a special printer on the shuttle. Using the letters of the alphabet to create shapes, They drew a rough picture of the tools we needed. One piece looked like a stick with a pouch. The other was kind of like a fly swatter. We already had the first piece, but it was up to us to put together the space fly swatter. Time for a scavenger hunt. And I see the picture at the bottom of page 14. And the caption says, "Me with my fellow astronauts and the fly swatter." On page 15, it says, "In the front of the shuttle, we kept a thin metal tube useful for pressing switches when we were in our seats. It might work as the fly swatter's handle." What about the swatting piece? Plastic book covers had the right shape. I started sewing the covers together using the needle that we kept to fix spacesuits. I'd stitched up plenty of patients after surgery. How much harder could this sewing job be? And again, I see a picture of her when she was a little girl. The picture or the caption says, "My early training in sewing came in handy in my careers as a doctor and astronaut." All right, think with me. How did the shuttle crew solve the problem of the satellite not turning on? Quite a solution, right? Again, thank you for correctly answering that the shuttle crew, with Mission Control's help from Earth, designed and built tools out of parts they found in their shuttle home. They used their knowledge from tools they had used back on Earth, such as a fly swatter. I also heard you say that Dr. Seddon used her sewing skills from her childhood and her experience as a doctor to sew parts together for this necessary tool. As I read these pages, I was thinking how smart the crew was to use skills they knew from their life to solve this problem. When the author said, "How much harder could this sewing job be?" I was reminded of the character trait we mentioned shortly ago. This lady would not give up. Now let's see if the crew's hard work pays off. You gave excellent answers that the crew had to design tools to try to turn on the satellite using their background skills. Moving forward, a good reader will listen for the answer of, did the tools work and will the satellite turn on? Let's listen. Making our fly swatter was the first part of the puzzle. Next, we needed to fasten our tools to the end of the arm. It had not been NASA's plan for anyone to go outside of the shuttle on this trip, but we didn't have much choice. My crewmates, David Griggs and Jeff Hoffman, who had trained a great deal for spacewalks, went out into the darkness. Carefully, they strapped the hand to the end of the arm. Once they had safely returned, I began operating the arm. Bob Bobko, our commander, and pilot Don Williams flew close to the broken satellite. After a few heavy swats, we could see that the switch was in the on position. Success! We waited for the machine to buzz into action, but nothing happened. Nobody wanted to give up, yet we knew we had other important jobs to do. Mission Control said we had to move on. On a later shuttle trip, the satellite would be retrieved by another crew, rewired, and sent on its way. This picture shows I see the fly swatter, and the caption says, "My makeshift arm with the fly swatter attached." Based on the text, what did the crew do, and did it work? You listen closely. Yes, two of the crew went outside of the shuttle and attached their made-up tool to the robotic arm. The robotic arm is a tool that is designed to look and act like your arm. It even has a hand. Good, you said the tool worked to flip on the satellite's power switch, but sadly it didn't work. How did the crew feel about the broken satellite, and what did they do? You are great at this. The crew didn't want to give up, but they realized they had more jobs to do, so they had to accept it and move on to the other jobs. This helps me understand the crew wanted to persevere and not give up, but they were acting responsibly to perform their other jobs. Let's think together. The last sentence said, on a later shuttle trip, the satellite would be retrieved by another crew, rewired, and sent on its way. Based on the information in this sentence, what does retrieve mean? The sentence doesn't give us the exact definition, but you did it. Yes, retrieve means something was taken back. I heard you understand the satellite was taken back to Earth and then returned to space after it was repaired. Take a moment and write down the definition of retrieve on your paper. I noticed another word that gives us a clue about the tools the crew made. The caption or words that tell me about the picture says, "My makeshift arm with the fly swatter attached." Using your knowledge about the tools used on the space shuttle, tell me what makeshift means. You are excellent at sharing your thinking of how you understood the meaning of makeshift. I heard you correctly say you had read how the astronaut crew had to design and create the tools. They also had to figure out how to attach the tool to the arm of the outside robotic arm. So makeshift means the astronaut tool was used in place of a real tool to do the job. They had to make do with the tools they had. It was a shift or a substitute for the real tool. So makeshift serves as a temporary substitute, and it's sufficient or good enough for the time being. Good thing those astronauts were not willing to give up. Thank you for using the captions to add information as you read. Don't forget to add the definition of makeshift. Let's go big here. Write one sentence that uses the word makeshift correctly. Do you remember what a booster is? Without hitting anyone or anything, show me one more time what a booster will look like as it takes off. It's fun being a booster, isn't it? Thank you for engaging with me in the text. Let's put the key details together to make sure we keep them in mind. Today, we will only be adding a few more key details to our key details chart. Please take out your key details chart from our previous lesson. If you weren't with us yesterday, take out one sheet of paper along with your pencil. Ready to go? Do you have space to write? Make sure your chart looks like mine from yesterday. We're going to write the key details or main events in chronological order. That means the order that they happened. As we write the key details of our story, we will use time order words like then, next, lastly, or first. These words help us with the sequence or order of the events. Make sure to use the vocabulary words mission control, satellite, booster, retrieve, and makeshift as you write. Write the first detail from part 2, the liftoff. It'll be under our second detail we already wrote. You did it! Thank you for correctly saying. After training for 1 year, she was given several projects to help other astronauts. Then, in 1985, she went on her first mission into space on the shuttle Discovery with help from Mission Control. Good job using shuttle and mission control in your writing. Go ahead now and write the second detail for today's reading from this section of our text. Awesome job! You may have written something like, with the help of boosters, the shuttle took off and reached 200 miles above Earth in 8.5 minutes. Thank you for including the vocabulary word shuttle and booster. Let's keep going. After Dr. Seddon reached space, tell me the next key detail using vocabulary words. That's it. Seddon and the astronauts' main job on the mission was to launch 2 satellites that would turn on once in space. Our reading today had several main events. What was the next main event? I think you can do this without help. Excellent. You may have said something like, lastly, the first satellite worked, but the second one would not turn on. Dr. Seddon and the astronauts made makeshift tools to turn on the switch, but it did not work, so NASA retrieved the broken satellite later. Now we have come to the independent section of this lesson. You will be asked to complete this assignment after we finish together today. Please get out a clean sheet of paper. I will give you the prompt. You may want to write down the directions at the top of your paper. Using your key details chart, write a summary of the main events in our story about Dr. Ray Seddon. Please add the vocabulary words mission control, shuttle, satellite, retrieve, and makeshift as you write. Also, add how our memoir author responded to the main events. Thank you. Good writers and readers use key details to understand the text and make connections between ideas. I enjoyed working on new vocabulary, key details, and how people respond to main events with you today. Thank you for inviting me into your home. I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson in Tennessee's At Home Learning Series. Goodbye, and I hope to see you soon.
Before you take a drink, do you think we can make this water rise to the top without putting any more water in there?
Yes.
How?
If we put some ice into here.
How many do you predict can fit in there before it goes all the way to the top?
I think 7.
7? Can you count them with me? Let's count.
1,
1,
2,
2, 3,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
do one more. Daddy dropped it.
11.
You predicted it would take 7 ice cubes, and it took 11 ice cubes. So, did it take more or fewer ice cubes?
I think more.
You think more? You're right, it did take more. Now, you can take a drink.